It is the lowest place on Earth, geologically unique, a mineral-rich salt sea. For millions of years, the waters of the River Jordan have drained into a basin formed by the Great Rift Valley, where the main activity has been the action of the sun on sea. The Dead Sea is not just a sea. It's a place of extraordinary historical significance, dotted with the ruins of centuries, like Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and the mountain fortress of Masada, where Jewish zealots chose collective suicide rather than surrender to the might of ancient Rome. And environmentalists believe it's under threat.
What we're going to see is, basically the destruction of the natural beauty that's there. We have a tenth of the amount of fresh water coming down to the Dead Sea than we had at the turn of the century. Now the Dead Sea has changed its size over the centuries many times. In fact, it's been lower than it is today in prior centuries. However, it's always had the opportunity to rejuvenate. Today it doesn't.
About 400 meters below sea level, the surface of the Dead Sea is some 16 meters lower now than 40 years ago. As the sea retreats, it leaves unsightly salt pans. The Dead Sea has no natural outlet, so it evaporates slowly into the hot, dry air, producing some of the saltiest waters in the world, 10 times as salty as ordinary seawater. The salt's the main attraction for the tourists too. 1.5 million come here every year to places like Ein Gedi Spa. Some lured by the virtual certainty of year-round sunshine, others by the cosmetic and the medicinal effects of Dead Sea mud. When Ein Gedi Spa was built, all but the oldest and the most infirm would walk to reach the Dead Sea shoreline. Now everybody goes in specially adapted carriages. Every year, the journey from the spa to the water's edge gets longer and longer. As the level of the Dead Sea drops, it exposes about 5 meters more of beach. That's 5 meters less of the sea itself. The Dead Sea is shrinking fast, and no one seems to be doing very much to stop it. Not that the tourists seem worried that the lowest place on Earth is getting lower all the time. Most just enjoy the new experience. Being extraordinarily salty, the water is also extremely buoyant. Floating on the surface is a cinch, even for beginners. Today, luxury hotels built by developers in the hope of attracting a whole new clientele are mushrooming along the narrow corridor between the mountains and the sea. At Ein Bakek, the Hyatt Hotel is preparing for its official opening. In a couple of weeks, the hotel opens with 500 beds, part of regional plans for 50,000.
The Dead Sea is probably the most natural spa of the world. We have here 10% more oxygen than you have on a normal sea level. It's the lowest point of Earth. You have in the air natural minerals that basically contribute to your health, okay, and to your de-stressing, like bromine. So all this, if we're looking at the new marketing opportunity, I think this is it.
There is a lack of a strategy for the development of the Dead Sea. There's no holistic plan. Jordanians, Israelis, Palestinians have not sat together in order to plan what are the priorities facing and what are the priority development issues for the Dead Sea.
Gidon Bromberg, an ecologist, is worried by what he sees as the risk of uncontrolled development.
It needs to be carefully thought out development. And that's not what's being planned here at the moment. It's ad hoc, it's competition between, particularly at the moment, Jordanians and Israelis in order who can build first, who can build quicker, without taking environment sufficiently into account.
Jordanians and Israelis are also doing their best to exploit its natural resources. The Dead Sea Works harvests the Dead Sea water for its potassium, magnesium, calcium and salt. There's a Jordanian plant on the other side which does the same. Pumped into a canal, the mineral-rich water is fed into a series of giant evaporation ponds, from which it then returns by gravity, shedding its minerals alongside dikes. It's a hugely lucrative business, but there's a drawback in environmental terms. Half the water pumped out of the sea is lost through evaporation.
First of all, it's evaporate by itself. Because if we will not pump it, it will be somewhere here and it will evaporate. But what we created a new sea, and all the tourists, all the hotels areas here and here, it's on the ponds. Because without our plant, here will be completely desert, like here. A mud, nothing here. No tourism, nothing.
Well, that's not the whole truth. The potash companies, both the Arab Potash Company and the Dead Sea Works, are responsible for roughly 25% loss in the waters of the Dead Sea through the creation of their ponds and the extra evaporation that causes. So that they are directly responsible for the loss of the Dead Sea, for killing the Dead Sea.
But there's a bigger reason for the Dead Sea's demise. In the 60s, Israel diverted the sources of the Jordan River where they leave the Sea of Galilee. Jordan then did the same to the Yarmouk River, a tributary. The result, the only thing flowing down the Jordan River today, is salt and sewage. Ahmed Sharawi works on a farm beside the Jordan River. There aren't too many others who do the same. And Ahmed can only use it by mixing the river water with water from the King Abdullah Canal.
From this point, the River Jordan flows 100 kilometers south to join the shores of the Dead Sea as a muddy trickle. But even here in northern Jordan, the river is almost completely dead, a salt bath, useless for either animals or crops. A handful of farmers who remember how it was recall that in the 60s the river was much deeper than it is today and clean enough to drink.
بالنسبه لقله الامطار وقله الينابيع وكثره الملاحه بنهر الاردن ما كانش اي انسان يشرب منها. يعني قبل ال60 كان بيشرب الانسان. وعندنا كثير مثلا قبل مزارعين كانوا بيزرعوا على نهر الاردن. هسه من قله الامطار وكثره الملاحه بها هجروا قشر الاراضي.
نفس المستوى، اما ميته خفت وميته غير صالح لا للزراعه ولا للشرب.
It's a textbook example of neglecting the environment for short-term gains.
Tourists like these women who've been coming here for years have seen the Dead Sea change around them.
The salt islands are gone. What we have is highways that they have created of all of these minerals that they're extracting. And I don't know if you've been down to the area, you've seen that. I'm glad I took pictures many years ago, because I don't think we'll see that again, not in our lifetimes. It would probably take too many years to get that back.
Yuval Shahaf is a member of the local council on the Israeli side of the Dead Sea region. This boat trip for tourists is one of his ideas.
We don't want to harm it too much, and we want to keep it as natural as possible.
Some people would say that there's no overall plan between Israel and Jordan on this issue, and between the financial benefits of investors and the environmentalists. Would that be a fair comment?
Yes, this is right, because well, the peace with Jordan is very young. But that's what we are doing together now with the Jordanian. to find the right way to negotiate this idea and problems together. And I think we got good response from both sides. The Israelis and the Jordanians understand that we should do it together. And that's what we are doing now.
At the moment, without the plan, it's a mad rush of competition where if this continues, everyone is going to lose. And when we say everyone, we mean the environment and we mean future generations.
One place that's popular with Dead Sea tourists is a visit to the Flower Cave. It's somewhere Israeli children get taken to on camping trips, a place to experience the wonders of the environment firsthand.
Natasha.
It's a place of mystery, darkness, something they're not used to in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. Emerging from the cave, the children are in the mood for talk.
We need a drink, but we shouldn't ruin the Dead Sea.
Is she right about that or is she wrong?
I agree. Because this is like the lowest point on Earth. It should be like kept maintained, and people should like come here for a while, but don't stay here too long before you destroy it.
There's got to be something special in every country. In this country, it's the Dead Sea.
I think the Dead Sea is very important because, you know, people come from around the world to see it, and we should really try to do whatever we can to keep it. I'm sure that if there was a crisis, we could find water, so I think we should try to save the Dead Sea and then try to find other water sources, because, you know, if worse comes to worse, we could always ship it in from somewhere like the States, but we can't ship the Dead Sea in, so that's what I think.
The Dead Sea may be dying, but there's a sense that things can work if development is properly controlled. The environment is a more important priority today than in the 60s. It needs to be if the Dead Sea is to remain a place of wonderment for future generations.